Kathy Clement with Kathy by Design, and I'm excited to welcome you today. I am the guest designer over at the Nomadic Soul Challenge. My friend Naneka Box, who I call Nunu, I met her when I was on the Little Birdie Craft team, and she started this new mixed media team and asked me to be a guest designer. And how could I say no? She's one of the loveliest artists out there. So the challenge for this month is to create an interactive card and use sequins. Was this made for me? I think it was. I have been passionate about making interactive cards for over 2 years now. I call them card folios, and I just have the best time. They're kind of a hybrid between a card and a mini album. So for this challenge, I've used Stamperia paper, Spring Botanic. This is one of their new lines, and it is just glorious. And since it's the month of April, I thought I would use this beautiful paper to make a spring shaker card. And here it is. It's just so much fun. Can you see the little sequins and the bee and everything in there? It's hard to tell what you can see on camera, but anyway, this is a 5 1/8 by 7 1/8 card base that I scored a 1/2 inch spine in. And if you're new to my channel, go to my Kathy Clement YouTube channel, look for my Graphic 45 Proper Gentleman folio tutorial, and you'll learn the basics that you need to build this base and the interactive elements on the inside. Today I have a tutorial showing you how to create this beautiful shabby chic frame and shaker element. This is a Tim Holtz Vignette Frame. It's a wood frame that I've altered with paint and sprays, and we'll build that together. We'll put the shaker box together, and that will be the tutorial. Little birdie flowers over here on the side. I just love these flowers. Some beautiful ribbon from Really Reasonable Ribbon. This lovely little bee and clock charm is from the Funky Junky Boutique, and here's the shaker box. The box measures, hold on, I think it's 3 3/4 by 5 1/2. And you will learn how to make that in the tutorial. So over here I've got some cute little bee charms that I picked up online, and I've altered these with some paint, a little vintage safety pin, some jute string, and that's the cover. I've used in with my Buttons Galore and More sequins some mustard seeds from the kitchen. So when you're making a shaker card, look for unexpected items to toss in there. It really makes it fun. So the card opens this way, and then on the top half of the card, I created sort of a little gallery wall on the inside. This was awfully fun to do. This collection has lots of little cut-aparts that are so beautiful, and I wanted to showcase them here. And what I've done is I've created little magnetic flip openings, and inside I've written a quote about springtime inside each one. And this is just a really fun interactive element to add to a card. I got excited when I thought of doing this because it's just such a fun thing. So that is the top half of the card. Here's another interactive element. I created a flap page, adhered it underneath my designer paper, scored it a couple of different times to form multiple pockets. The first pocket is on the outside, and I've taken one of the beautiful bookmarks from the collection, double matted it on pink and green paper, added a little bit of ribbon and jute string and another little bee charm, and this fits perfectly inside this little side pocket. But then on top of that is another pocket, and here I've made a magnet with one of the circular elements. I just use a basic gray large magnet, die cut the circle from cardstock and stitched it up on my sewing machine, added a little birdie flower and some twine. Then these tags are just incredibly gorgeous. This paper collection, this speaks my language. It's just beautiful. And they sit right in this little shallow pocket here. So the idea is that this is a card and a gift and a mini album all in one. So it's home decor too. So this flips over. There's a little decorated panel here with the wonderful springtime bugs. And then I created a pocket. I cut this off center thumb hole using a die from my stash, and then I used this part of the die up here on the cover as a tab, and that gave my roses a place to rest. More of this wonderful bug paper, and then created this little I think this is 3 3/4 by, hold on, I'll tell you in a moment, 3.5 by 5.5 little flip folio, vintage button from my button box, and then just papers and images cut, and I use everything. These are actually from the covers of the paper collection. It's all so beautiful, you can use it all. And you can use this as a place to do journaling, to add little photos, to tuck in little mementos. This is a gift all in itself. So that is my project. I hope you'll hang around if you wanted to learn how to create a shaker card. I have a really easy way to make it, and I think you'll enjoy it. I was out of foam tape, so I had to get creative, but I actually really like the way it turned out. I used some waste chipboard, and I found it actually easier to work with. So thank you for joining me. If you haven't subscribed to my channel, I would love to have you along for the journey. We have a lot of fun here, and I'd like to thank Naneka for inviting me to be guest designer. All right, hang around. Tutorial's up next. So let's get started creating this little shaker frame. This is a Tim Holtz Vignette Frame. This is the largest one that comes in the pack. I think you get 4 frames in each pack. And this one is 4 by 5.5, just about 4 by 5.5. So the first thing I like to do is just put down a coat of, since we're going kind of shabby chic, this is antique linen distress paint, and I'm just going to put some of this out on my craft mat, and we're just going to brush this on. Okay, now that's mostly dry. I'm not even going to bother to clean off my brush. This is Bundled Sage Distress Paint. And we're just going to dry brush a little bit of this on to kind of make the details pop. But we don't want the frame to be green. So just put some paint on your brush and then mostly tap it off. And then just kind of brush over that antique linen, and just kind of random, but you can see how this is helping the pretty details in the frame to pop. And then just brush a little randomly. The next color we're going to add is Shabby Shutters. And this is a little bit more powerful green, but still light. Going with spring colors here. All right, and then this is Tattered Rose. And this is going to be the last accent color. And we just need a little bit of this, which is a good thing because I think my bottle's getting kind of empty. And for this, I'm just going to take a toothbrush, an old toothbrush, and pick up some paint, and then just tap it around. And you can actually flick the bristles a little bit just to get a little spatter effect. I actually see like that right there. I like that. So I think I need a little more paint. And you're going to get messy hands, but that's all right. This cleans up really easy with water. Yeah, I like the way that looks. Maybe a little more over in here. Just gonna do it, guys. Going in with my finger. Might as well. And then the inside of the frame, I want to really get this pink in there. So I'm just rubbing my finger along the inside of the frame. And maybe a little in these corners. This is just, you know, you just kind of have to play with this a little bit until you. Here's a little tip. I paint the color of the paint on the top of the cap, because then when I have it stored in my box that I keep my paints in, I can find the color. So that's just a handy little tip. No extra charge, and that's good enough. It doesn't have to be completely dry for this next step. This is my own homemade mica spray. I used the old tarnished brass bottle, but what I put in here was Perfect Pearls Heirloom Gold and a little water, and just kind of mixed it up. And now we're just going to spritz this over this. And you can see it sinks down into those crevices and the detail really pops, but the color still comes through. And I like the way that looks. So this is going to need to dry for a second or two. I'm going to clean up my mat. It's very, very important that you have a really clean work surface when you add your acetate to the back. So let me get this cleaned up. We'll be back in a minute. We'll do the next step. Okay, there's one last thing I want to do with this frame, and this is ground espresso spray stain, but I don't want to spray it. I just want to create little spatters. Just to kind of age and shabby up this frame a little bit more. And I'm just picking up, I don't want it to be super dark. I just kind of want it to fade. So I'm picking it up with a paper towel. And that is exactly, this is good. This is what I wanted. So you can see we got a little bit of shimmer, we've got some contrast. That spray sunk down into the carved areas, creating great detail, but you can still see our tattered rose, you can still see some of the antique linen, you can see the greens. It's very pretty. So on the back of this, plain printer paper, because I really do want to work on a very clean surface. But I have burnished 1/2 inch score tape onto the back of my frame. And then I cut to fit the frame. And I've lost my ruler. Here we go. I've cut a 3 3/4 by I think 5 1/2 piece of clear cardstock, and it comes back with this little tissue paper, and that's just to help protect it from getting scratched. So we're just going to pull our tape liner, and I put this on before I did all that painting and stuff on the front of the frame, because it really works best on a dry, completely clean surface. So I put that down first, then I did my painting. All right, and then we're just gonna put this over our frame, burnish it down, remove that tissue paper, and because I have a hard time getting things perfectly straight, I usually have to come back with a pair of scissors and just trim away any overhang. I mean, almost you could leave it there because honestly you can hardly see it. But there's your acetate sheet. So put this back face down. And I've worked a lot with foam tape. I have a love-hate relationship with foam tape. It is just so, it's so sticky and it drives me crazy. So I'm experimenting and we'll see how this works. We're doing this together, but this is just waste packaging. I save all my priority mail packages that my design team allotments come in. And I've cut this into about 3/8 inch strips, and then I've just glued 4 of those together because I want some height on this shaker box. And we're going to, actually I think I am going to use score tape for this, but I'm only going to use 1/4 inch score tape. That adhesive would work, but it takes time to dry, and I don't want to take that time today. So we're just going to put our score tape down, burnish it, and we're just going to, this is hard for me to do on camera. We're just going to put these down, and I've got 2 short ones for the short ends of the frame. It's important that the ends on all of these are even. The width is not such a big deal, but what you don't want with a shaker frame is for there to be leakage of your beads and sequins and such. So and I'm going to take these little short pieces that I pre-measured, and again, you can use, I mean, feel free to use foam tape. When you put these pieces in, you want to butt them right up against the, right into the corners, because if there's going to be a leak in a shaker card, that's where it's going to happen. So see, I've got a good tight fit. Trying to make sure you can't see that through the shaker. Okay. A little bit. The other thing is foam tape, it's really hard to find it that isn't 1/2 inch wide, and sometimes 1/2 inch is more than what you want. Okay, this piece goes over here. But that's basically how you do the back. Okay, so this is cut. This is just one of these 4x6, 4x 5.5 images from the paper collection, which is a perfect match for the vignette frame. And I've just matted this on the pink and green. Then I also cut this oval image from the collection, added this little bee charm and a little Tim Holtz phrase. And we're going to, I put a little bit of chipboard on the back, and we're going to adhere this just like this. Now, I'm going to take our shaker elements and ever so carefully place them in the center of our card. And I have a hard time doing this inside the frame. If I wasn't on camera, I could do it, but I have to put my head right over what I'm doing, and then you can't see what I'm doing. So we're going to try it this way, and we're just going to hold our breath and hope that it works. So kind of push these guys in toward the center. And some fell out. We're just not going to worry about the strays. We'll gather those up later and put them away. But basically you want your edges clean. So here's our frame. I'm going to put my adhesive on those chipboard pieces that we added. And you can be fairly generous with this. And then, excuse me if I get my head in the picture, but I have to see what I'm doing here, because this has to be straight and it also has to be centered. And we're going to press this down and just hold it in place. I can see I'm a little crooked on this side, so I'm going to shift it just the tiniest bit that way. Hopefully that didn't make anything come loose. We're just going to let that glue set up, and then we'll see what we've got. All right, so there we have it. And my little charm fit. Now I've got some elements that are stuck. So this is a big darning needle. I'm going to stick it in through these layers, and I'm just going to get these guys unstuck. Can you see what I'm doing? Because these guys are stuck and I want them unstuck. Okay, good. There we go. So there's our shaker element. We've got our focal image. We've got our frame, our shabby chic frame, and that's really the heart of this project. I'm going to show you how to cover this elevation. So give me a second, I'll be right back. So I've cut some 1/4-inch strips of designer paper from my scraps and backed it with 1/4-inch score tape. And I'm just going to start over here on the side and press this down into that foundation all the way around. And then just a little piece in here. So if you had 1/4-inch washi tape, that would be perfect. I don't. So I kind of made my own. And just burnish that down so it'll hold. You can also use ribbon. Ribbon doesn't hold as well as paper does. But there is the shaker box. Really cute. I really like the way this turned out. Those butterflies like to stick to that bumblebee, but there we go. See? Now, bring in your card front, which I've already decorated this, and this is 5 1/8 by 7 1/8. And I want to take, just gonna flip this over onto this nice clean piece of paper. I'm going to add some score tape to the back. And I popped this box up onto waste chipboard because I just like it to have that lift on the card front. I think it makes it look, I like the dimension it adds. We'll just leave it at that. And this is good and sturdy, so it's gonna hold. You could use hot glue as well. I just don't have my glue gun on. So put my card front down. Now this tab is from the circle that I die cut on the pocket on the inside. And I want to get this lined up, even on each side. There you have it. And that's how I make a shaker element on a card. I'll come back on my own. I have other tutorials where you can watch me add flowers and embellishments and all of that. But this is how you build the shaker box for this interactive card. Thank you so much for joining me. There will be still photos following this so you can kind of see how the finished project all came together. I hope I shared some tips and tricks and ideas that you can use in your own crafty adventures. I would love to have you subscribe to my channel. You can just click on the link at the end of this video and go get your craft on. Bye.